Cue the music we don't have. Big church hymn.
Oh, yeah, right. All right, so this is the Holyish Life.
Can I have your attention, please?
All right, so this is the Holyish Life. We are two friends that met through church, shocker, and decided that we wanted to use our friendship and our community that we've kind of engaged with to start a podcast, to talk about faith, spirituality, how one lives a holy life, knowing that it's not always a straight path from A to B. Most of the time it's very circuitous, something like that.
Yeah.
And how it's not always like roses and rainbows, right? A lot of times it's messy and it's hard, and like a lot of times we have to hit rock bottom before we realize like, hey, this is something I need in my life.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's kind of a short little synopsis about what we want to chat about.
Yeah.
And I figured we'll start this first episode by just introducing ourselves and our faith journey.
Mhm.
And then we'll talk about what our listeners and viewers can expect moving forward. So we are coming to you guys, to our listeners, from Dallas, Texas, where, you know, not to be cliche, but I think there are more churches in Dallas than anywhere else in the U.S.
Yes.
But I want to preface that by saying we are not, like, I don't think people who know us well would say like, oh, these two were like born and bred in the Bible Belt.
Right.
And like, you know, they are just the most God-loving women and all these things, because I don't think that's the real world.
I agree. I think there's something really nice about Dallas. So I'm not from Dallas originally. I did go to college here and lived here, you know, until I was in my late 20s. But really didn't. I think there's like a culture in Dallas where you can lean in to spirituality and religion and all the churches and scene, and you can totally ignore that it exists. So like my first go around here, that was not really a part of my life at all. And it's when I moved back, it was really funny. And I'm so grateful for this because I couldn't go anywhere without somebody asking me where I went to church. And that was like not my vibe at the time. Like I'd just gotten my kids and we just moved officially after I'd been going back and forth for a couple of years. So my neighbors were like, hey, like we want to meet your kids. Let's go out to dinner. Where are you going to church? And I was like, oh my gosh, like pump the brakes.
Right? People. I just met you.
Yeah. I went to my pediatrician. He's like, so where are you planning on going to church? I was like, what is happening?
Right.
Like, where am I? Right. Like Kansas City is where I'm from, and it's just so different. So I was a little bit like eye rolling. But I am so grateful because it forced me to be like, okay, just to make people not ask me and me have no answer, I should probably find a church, and ended up going to HPUMC, which is right around the corner from my house because it was beautiful. It was on my college's campus, and I knew I could get my kids there like easily in the morning, and it was the best decision I ever made. But I credit that like the culture I'd ignored the first time in Dallas around for like getting my booty actually to go this second time around. And then it just opened up this whole new world. So I think it's kind of like choose your own adventure in Dallas. Mm-hmm. I'm just grateful I had people like that were more forceful about the church side of it at this point in my life, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dallas is, like I said, there's a lot of expectation that church and religion are a part of your daily life.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that pressure, as you experience, can kind of force you to be like, okay, do I want to have a church home? And I think too, like when you have kids, you're like, okay, it's probably in their best interest that I find a church for them to at least have that option if they want to take that route, right? And so I could see how that plays out, especially in Dallas. And like I said, it's hugely populated. Yeah. So that's a little bit about Dallas and sort of like how religion is viewed in our town and our city. And obviously this is two people's take on it, right? Like everyone's going to come at it with a different take about what Dallas has to offer on churches and religion and faith. But that's where we live. That's where we're...
How we met.
Yeah. Yep. And so I think next I'd like to dig a little deeper into us individually and talk about a little bit about like who you are. Let's introduce ourselves to the people that are listening so they can understand what, the lens in which they're hearing us speak.
I think that's good.
So church is where you are now. Tell us from start to finish in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah. Like, girl.
Yeah.
Sit down for a while.
But like how did you end up here? And you're just where you're at now with your faith. Like, where did it start? When was your first exposure to it? And, was it, like we said earlier, was it a straight path, or did it take a lot of twists and turns like most people's journey?
Definitely a lot of twists and turns. I am not unique in that. So I grew up in the Episcopal Church. Like I said, my parents were religious, and I went to an Episcopal day school. Like, we went to chapel every morning. I was an acolyte. I checked all the boxes, did all the things, but my parents, like in our home and even in the church where I was, and I don't know if this is just unique to that Episcopal church, I'm not speaking of like all of them, I never really felt a real relationship with God, right? There was a lot of reverence and a lot of rules, and I don't know if it's my personality or what that was that just never sat right with me. Like, what's the why? Like, why am I revering this thing? Am I wanting to follow these rules? And that just never, like, there was a cognitive dissonance there for me that never got resolved. So I didn't really think much of it. I was like, all right, well, here's just this thing that I have to do. I don't fully understand it. I don't see any answers. So I, did what I was supposed to do. And I know that something about it implanted, though, in me when I was younger, because I was very wild in high school and got to college, stayed in that sort of, rebellious, irreverent mindset. And whenever I would really be forced to deal with something that was hard or difficult, though, I would go to God. Like, I'd have a devotional book I'd read, not the Bible, but I'd, try to find a devotional, or I would pray for something I needed that, like, I knew I wanted. Come on, God, catch up. It was always like kind of like a desperate pleading relationship, right? Like, I didn't see it as a real like love and father. I went for what I wanted, never got what I wanted, obviously, because it was, in retrospect, like, what a blessing. Horrible things I was asking for. But I know that, like, obviously I did that because I was grounded in this traditional religious background. And then after college, again, like, I found I was rereading, I should say, Atlas Shrugged the other day, and I had these little note cards in there, and I obviously had done this in college. That was like, well, how does spirituality fit in? Like, she's so objective and so legalistic, and it's awesome. Like, I love so much about that sort of way you can live life. But I was still like, hey, but what about God? Even though I wasn't looking for him in my personal life, like, I know there was something there. And then I moved back to Kansas City after I was in Dallas for a few years, got married. My ex-husband's Jewish, and I made sure we had a Christian minister who married us. My kids would be raised in the Christian church. Like, I did all those things, but like, I didn't really care. I think my parents happy.
Right?
Like, and it was something you have to deal with when you have a multi or interdenominational marriage. But I didn't think twice about God. I don't think from the day I got married until, I mean, honestly, it was probably last year.
Yeah.
Not think twice, but I went on this roller coaster of we can get into all this later, but between children being sick and having surgery, divorce, financial sort of destruction, I guess I'll say. My career, I was an event planner during COVID. There were just so many things. Every time I turned around, I was getting smacked in the face by something else that sucked. And I still didn't go to God.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do this. I will power through. And I did, until finally last year, I couldn't. Like, I had surfed and, flailed in all the tidal waves. I was like, no, I can swim. And finally I got knocked over and I couldn't get back up. But during that period where all this bad stuff was happening, I was looking for something else. I was doing horoscopes. I was doing tarot. I had like energy readers like all across the country. Just like idol seeking, feed my pride, everything wrong. Literally, I'm like so embarrassed when I look back on it. And I was like so proud of it too. I was like, oh, I have this great girl in California. She'll read your chakras over Zoom. Like, yeah. Does that work? Like, no, it's so stupid. But anyway, I guess all that to say that grounded in a very dogmatic religion, I know it stayed somewhere in me, but when I was going through it for that, it's like a 10-year period of just nothing going, and my life was good,
right? Yeah,
things kept going wrong. Yeah. God was there, and I was absolutely looking the other way. So I, in the last year, like I said, hit that absolute like I don't know where to go, and He was there.
God was there.
Yep. So that's kind of mine. And what about, like, how would you characterize yours? Twisting, turning, pretty steadfast. My impression of you is steadfast, but I don't know if that's just because, like,
I know
you just give that vibe.
Okay, good.
It really is, right?
You know, it's probably, I mean, I definitely had challenges, and I am like a pretty, I don't know, cerebral individual in the sense that like I question things a lot. So like in that sense, I questioned things along the way, right? But I mean, I grew up Catholic. I mean, baptized, confirm, or all the things in the Catholic Church because that's how my mom raised us. And we weren't like a go to church every Sunday kind of family. It was definitely holidays, right? Like a good Catholic. But then it wasn't every Sunday. But I did like all the classes and everything at our Catholic church here in Dallas. And then when I went off to college, I dated like one guy who was really into religion, and so like he was into like non-denominational, more contemporary style of religion, which going from Catholic to contemporary religion was like
180.
I was like, why am I at a rock concert? Like it felt so unholy to me, right?
You're doing God wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And like there's a right or wrong way to do God, right? But in my mind, as the Catholic kid, I was like,
but I think people do.
I was so offended, by this, right? Like, God does not like this, But I quickly realized that and it was that C.S. Lewis book, Mere Christianity, that kind of wrapped me back to however you dress it, like you can put really formal clothing on it, or you can put ripped jeans and a t-shirt on it. Religion is the same at its core, right? Like our religion, Christianity, is the same at its core. So for me it was Catholic, and then went to college, didn't really get too involved, and then a boyfriend that I had, I think it was my second semester of my freshman year that he and I started dating, or maybe it was my sophomore, I can't remember. He was into religion, and his family was really into religion. So and they lived in Kansas City. So like we would go to like Kansas City for the weekends or something, and which is like 45 minutes from KU. And so we would have religion, a little exposure there, a little exposure on campus. But it was never a consistent and normal part of my life. I would have like random people who were like, hey, do you want to do a Bible study? And I always had my Bible with me. Like I brought it with me to college. Even though like I didn't use it that much or open it that much, but it was kind of similar to you. Like it was there because I knew like it was part of who I was foundationally. I just wasn't a participating or active member in religion at the time. Right. And then after college, had a different boyfriend in college he grew up Catholic, but he wasn't really actively involved, right? Neither was his family, and we didn't really like go to church together. But we decided that we should get married, and so we were planning on getting married in the Catholic Church because we both were Catholic, right? And so we went down that process, but like we weren't going to church, we weren't doing any of the things, and then that relationship ended, and I was like every once in a while I would go back to Christ the King, which is my Catholic church that I grew up in here in Dallas. But it was, I was at that moment in life at the ending of that relationship. I became, I was, it's with the end of any relationship, like you get it's pain. They're all painful, right?
So painful.
It doesn't matter like underlying factors are, right? Like they're painful, especially, I mean, we were together 5 years, I think. So like a significant amount of time, right? And when you're only 20, I don't even 25 at the time, right? So like if you think about that, yes, exactly.
I'm not good at math, but that sounds right.
I think, yeah, something like that. And so, you know, I was hurting and I was like trying to refigure out my life because we had bought a house together. We'd like done a bunch of adult things, right, as very young adults.
And tracked your life. You're like, here's what's going to happen.
Like, you know, and I was definitely one of those people that was like, I'm going to be married by this age. I'm going to have kids by this age. Like, that's just who I am inherently.
I'm so jealous of people like you. I have never had.
But you see how that played out. You see how that played out, right? And that's just a nod to like the planning of life. We can have all these plans, and as we all know, God has a different plan. And I quickly figured out, like, hey, that I was planning my life a certain way and with certain people, and it didn't work out. And I think that was just a reiteration of like, hey, we can try to control our narrative to some degree, but then like there's a bigger plan for us, and we won't know it unless we're put ourselves in a position to understand it and be open to it and hear it. And that really came to light for me at the ending of one relationship, before I met the person that I'm married to now. And so I was kind of going to church, but almost just like because I wanted to say I was going to church, you know, because I felt like I needed to say that I was seeking spiritual healing. I really, you know, as I have a great group of friends, and so everyone was like checking in on me, and like I was young, right? And so, and I was trying to like be independent and trying to like start a new business at the same time. So like my life had a lot of as we all do, had a lot of different things happening, and I just felt like, okay, well, if I'm going to church, at least I'm trying to heal myself from the pain of the breakup. That's the thing I'm doing. I'm going to counseling and I'm going to church. I'm trying to heal myself because I was so busy with so many other things in life that I was probably using as a distraction from it all, that I felt like, okay, if I can check those two boxes, then at least I think I know I'm moving my checker forward in the healing department of the process.
It's not hurting anything.
Right. Exactly. So I was going to church a little bit, and then I met my future husband in 2011, and we were just dating casually, and somehow I don't remember if he was like, hey, do you want to go to church with me on Sunday or what, but we started going like some Sundays to my church, the Catholic church, and then some Sundays to his church, which was HPUMC. And we would go, he was easing me into it. So he'd take me to the sanctuary, because that's a lot more like the Catholic mass, right? The sanctuary, because it looks like a beautiful traditional church. I
was going to start there. I was like, this is what I'm used to.
Exactly. So it was like, I was like, okay, this is great. You know, like I could, you know, this doesn't feel like such a far reach for me. And then, but I will say, I was doing religion at a very surface level. I was doing religion, like I said, to check a box at that time. And I wasn't turning to God when I needed to, unless I was in desperate need,
girl.
Right? Like when I was like you said, I felt like I had hit rock bottom. I'd moved out of my house that I had purchased with my fiance at the time. I literally just took my clothing and left everything else and moved into a friend's house. And because I didn't want to go live with my parents, because I didn't want all the pressure from them of like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? What's happening? You know, like I didn't want to have to deal with that. And at 24, 25, like I was just immature emotionally and otherwise. Right. So, and I didn't have the wisdom to go to God consistently as part of my healing process, right? And in a deeper way. I went superficially because I was like, this is what you do when you have nothing else, is you go to God. And I was asking and seeking the answer to like such a specific question. Like, do I stay with this person or do I not stay with this person?
That's why the tarot cards were great. They always answered.
Yes, right? And while like I shouldn't, you know, now being older, being 40, being a little bit wiser, having lived a life a little more, I don't think that's how you go to God with a specific question, because he's not going to answer you yes or no. Right. Because one, that's probably not even on his radar as part of your plan. Obviously it wasn't for me. Right. So like, he's like, why are you even asking me this question if you should yes or no be with this person, when this is not even like, this is nothing of your future. Right. Like, so like, you know, and
if it is, it'll unfold and you'll find out.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is like learning to trust him, even when you don't see
Mm-hmm.
any indication
that he's aware.
Working.
Yeah, exactly. And that's faith. That is the foundation of faith.
Yep.
Right. And so started going to HPUMC with this guy that I was dating, and I suddenly was like, wow, church like actually speaks to me now. It's not spoken at me, it's like in me, mm-hmm. right? And at the Catholic Church, I always felt like
that is such a nice way to say that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not spoken at me, it is in me.
Right.
It really does. Like, it feels like when you have the right message and connection, you get lit up somewhere.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Parts of me like that, my person, my faith, like mm-hmm. is awoken from, like, I guess, a sedentary state from mm-hmm. years of just not having an appeal to it. But like, at the Catholic Church, it's always this, and it's, nothing bad on the Catholic Church, just the way the religion is organized is, I always felt like there had to be someone between me and God.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the purpose of a priest or a bishop or a monsignor or,
yep.
fill in the blank. And that I went to them, and then they went to God with mm-hmm. whatever it is that I was seeking, right? Or forgiveness or help or prayer or thanks. And at HPUMC, I felt like there was no middleman between me and God. I could go to God during Sunday religion for an hour, right? And so
save it all for confession, dump it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so,
but it does make it really hard to feel like you can be involved with God and he wants to be involved with you.
Totally. The accessibility just felt very limited.
Yeah.
And I am a person of connection. Like, I really value connection to people or animals, like my dog. I love my dog. And so I value that interpersonal relationship with living beings, or celestial beings, I guess, in God's case. But I didn't get that with the Catholic Church, and so cue Methodism, and Methodist. There we go. I like that one better.
I can say it.
Yes, there you go. And so that's how my transition through religion, and then from Catholicism into Methodist took place. And it wasn't until I was practicing at the Methodist Church that I noticed God showing up in my life, mm-hmm. right? And I don't know if it's because I suddenly was just more in tune, or if it was just the removal of that middleman for me personally, or if it's because the environment felt safer to me to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Because I think opening yourself up to hear God's message takes a certain level of vulnerability. And I mean, because you have to be open to hearing or receiving the message, whether it's what you want to hear or see or not.
So true.
And sometimes we want to control our own narrative so much so that, like, we only want to hear if it's in line with what we want or what we hope for.
And even so that's it's so funny how hard we fight this, like, loving relationship. He literally just wants to love us and be close and be near and just be.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to get caught up in how we're supposed to be doing things. And I always think of the Old Testament as, like, when we didn't have Jesus, everyone was working to be righteous, and you were following the 10 Commandments and all of the rules and like, insane amount of rules that were laid down.
Right.
And then Jesus comes, and it's like that's the point, right? That's what God wanted the whole time. Mm-hmm. And he achieved it by coming down to earth and living with us a perfect mm-hmm. life and sacrificing. And it is not in our capacity to live a perfect life.
No.
I still try. Like, I still think I'm going to figure it out, like, every day. Then I'm like, why are you putting so much pressure on me? It's like, no, girl, like, it's not about you. But I think that like accessibility to him, he made very clear, like, look, we did it this way. Mm-hmm. Jesus came. Relax, everybody. I just want to love you. And now I've made it possible for you to really accept that.
Yeah.
But we still fight it. Like, that, what is that nature? I
think that we want to message through to our listeners is just that there's no right way to do faith, right? Like,
no,
I continue to this day, as much as I truly believe that all of this is real, right? Mm-hmm. That God is real, that Jesus was the Son of God, that when I die, there's something else for me. I'm not just a corpse rotting in the ground or ashes thrown into the sea or whatever my family's going to do with my body afterwards.
Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Santa Barbara. Montecito, just spread those ashes. As much as I believe with my core being and like live my life, as much as I live my life that all of this is real and that I am not just a sheep, right? I still doubt when really bad things happen, especially when really bad things happen to good people. I have the thoughts of like, why would you let this happen? And so, you know, you have to reconcile that through life,
right?
You know, I mean, because we live in a world where things are going to happen, right? And that's just the world that God created. And that's something that, you know, I'm really looking forward to talking about down the road and getting some of our listeners' thoughts on it, because it's something that applies to every human. No one has lived a life of no pain, no doubt. Everything's been perfect, right? Because it's not the world we live in.
But even God, when he came, you know, as Jesus here, he didn't give himself a perfect life either. No. Like Jesus's life was hard, but his resolve was just so amazing to get through it. And I think like there's a part of that, you know, obviously there has to be hard to appreciate good. But I think a little bit of it too is God genuinely showing us that he has walked the walk and experienced
what it's
the hard. Yeah. So we can do it too. And he's not just sitting up there like totally detached, like, oh girl, you can do this.
If I can do it.
It's like, no, he's like, yeah, I did it. And it was really hard. And I was crying out like to have mercy, but I still ran the race, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I got married I'd been with my husband for many years before we got married. And I think that might be part of it too, is like, you know, we had a faith journey for many years before we, you know, had a marriage with God, you know, under the umbrella of God and of religion. And I was 35, you know, and I really do think like, unless you pop out of the womb and you're like, Jesus is my BFF, then it takes a long time to develop a deep relationship, I think, with God, and to trust and to believe
and without him present in your relationship and life and see value in that.
Yep. Like, and I will say, my husband is 14 years older than me, so his journey was even longer than mine. And so what he brought to our marriage was just that, I mean, he was even further in his faith journey than I was, just by default being older than me. And so like me looking at his foundation and looking at his trust and looking at how he lived and modeled behaviors of someone who had such a deep relationship with Christ was helpful to me, you know? It helped me to realize that like,
that's actually really like inspiring. Like I think that is, if you can find someone that's sort of your Sherpa, right? Like like I respect this person tremendously, and this is what they're doing.
Exactly. Like, and that was it.
You're not being forced to, like, it's genuine like admiration. I mean, like, hey, I think there's something to this.
100%.
I'm going to open myself up to whatever you're doing. And
and that's one of the reasons I was initially attracted to my husband, because I respected him so much by the way he lived his life, the kind of person he was. He was just the most thoughtful, kind individual human I had ever encountered. But he was also one of the most faithful individuals I had ever encountered. And so like, you know, you can't help but understand that the two go hand in hand. And so to be like, oh, that's how you become like this, is right, is you choose a path. We all have choices to make, right? And then he's someone that, and he's gonna laugh when he hears this, he always chooses to do the right thing over the easy thing. And I think that is something that Jesus did time after time after time.
100%.
And so if you can, you know, if you think of it that way, if, you know, and I know this is so cliche, but like, what would Jesus do when you hit those forks in the road? My husband always tended to choose to do the right thing over the easy thing time after time after time. And I think it just made him so grounded and trusting in God's guidance in his life.
Yeah.
And to be an outsider observing all of this, I was like, whoa.
Well, you're watching it getting practiced, not just preached.
100%.
You know? Like,
in
I think
real world application.
Very valuable.
And to see that, like, when he would put it out there and to see it come back and repay him later in life in a way that was either just a relationship that was there for him when he needed it because he was there, you know, he did the Christ-like thing with them at the beginning, you know? And so, and when I say Christ-like thing, I mean, it's something as simple as knowing when people's birthdays are and calling them every year on their birthday, celebrating their moments of life with them that are worth celebrating, sending the card, sending the text, staying connected, and, you know, being a child of God that nurtures his other children. And Ben is very much like that.
Yeah.
I said his name. Yep. And so, and it's something I always respected, admired about him. And so that was really part of my initial attraction to him. And it turns out that, like, a lot of it's because of his faith foundation.
So good.
And it helped me, oh my gosh, tremendously, because he modeled behaviors that I was like, oh, I want to be more like that.
Right.
I want to be more like that. I want to be more thoughtful. I want to be more selfless and think of others before myself. Right. And so it really challenged me to work on who I was as a person. And a lot of that had to do with living a life like Jesus lived a life. And so when you look at it through that lens, you're like, oh, it's easier than one might think.
Right.
You have to be intentional.
Yeah. But again, it's like, you don't have to work for it. It's right. I always think of our series last year that they did at Cornerstone that was like, you're really just cultivating this garden so that the Holy Spirit can come and plant those fruits of the Spirit. Like, you can't work harder at being gentle, or, you know, like there are things you can do to set yourself up for more success and start to be cognizant and aware of, you know, how you're approaching different situations or whatever it is. But really, if you just lay that groundwork and you're open to it and you're watching great examples and you're putting good things and influences in your life and you're staying close to God, those things start to grow. Oh yeah. You know, and it's not like, oh, I'm out here hoeing the dirt and look how hard I worked and look at my, like, no, that does not feel like peaceful, you know, gentle.
Totally. And I totally agree that a lot of it has to do with, like, who we surround ourselves with, and the things that we expose ourselves to have influence over us. I mean, by default, right? And
I think too, when you're like, because I know I did this a lot, when you're off track, like, I would continue to choose people that I knew wouldn't have a problem with how I was acting. You know, like that was definitely something I think subconsciously did, but looking back on it, I'm like, that's 1,000% why I never got called on the carpet of, like, a lot of my behavior when I was younger. And then when I was struggling, you know, like I said, over the last, like, decade, whether it was some startup and fundraising and female founder, and it was just still, like, I felt so bad. I was in struggle and bad things were happening. I didn't want to go be around good people. Like, I was like, I need to hide this. Like, Boss having surgery was, you know, that 5 months where we were waiting to get him big enough to have the surgery. And then in recovery, I withdrew really hard because I thought I had done something wrong. That's why my baby had to have open heart surgery. Right. And so I feel like, I don't know what was the chicken or the egg. Oh my gosh. Oh, leave an abusive marriage. Like, you did a hard thing. And it was true. Like, I felt good about myself, but I wasn't ever seeking out people that were going to bring me higher. I was kind of either hiding because I felt ashamed of what was going on in my life, or I was intentionally, when I was younger, selecting people that, like, weren't going to judge me. And I know that my sense of value and, like, of myself was just really low. I always projected really high. I think if I told people that, they'd be like, what? Like, no, I've had this thing I've always kind of fought against. And it really wasn't, like, filled, or it didn't make sense until this last year when I got really into the Bible, got closer with God, and started, again, it's just like, it's just that weight that leaves. It's like, wait, this isn't all about me. Like, oh, even if I do something wrong, you still love me. Like,
Right.
I think that was just such a release and sort of made me want to like poke my head out of the hole again. And that's not to say that always I was just like in the shadows. What I am excited about is being 40 now.
Yeah.
And
welcome to the club.
Yes, so fun. It's been great. However many hours, 12 hours.
Right.
But I think that like there's something kind of cool to me, and I'm pulling too much meaning from this, but like when you're going through the Bible and you're seeing, 40 was a big number, right? Like Noah was in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights, and Jesus was out in the wilderness getting tempted by Satan for 40 days, and Israelites were wandering in the desert for 40 years. Like it's always a time of transformation and change. And so I think like it's just been a really interesting for me, I think just because of birthday vibes, but to be reflecting on it now and being like, gosh, you can go back and you can make sense of everything that's happening at the time. And I can, paint it as sensible and learn lessons from it. But it's part of the journey and it's always unfolding. And I think the best thing is, and you know me, it's probably like a broken record and actually annoying. I'm like, God's going to redeem it. Like God really does. You can go be a total dork and he's going to figure out a way to like make it good. Like Boss's Heart Surgery led to this amazing company that we built that helps people. Like that was something really bad and God made it really good. And then that ended dramatically and not in a way that I would have wanted it to, but it brought me right to God's feet.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a really beautiful thing about being okay with being like, why we're doing this now. We're in the middle. Like maybe I'm not as messy as I've always been, but I am nowhere near holy, still ish.
Yes. Oh, always. So I think it will be ish till the day we die.
Yeah.
But I think too, I think that's how religion and life play together is like, I think you have to do some hard things in order to, especially if you drift away, right? You have to just go through some hard things to pull you back into it. And then it doesn't mean the hard things are then done, right? Like we're only 42. Right. The flip side of that coin is we're only 40.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I finished my 40 years. I am done.
I hope this. I will be praying over this.
Clearly, I already told God that's what's happening, so we know how that goes.
We know how that goes, yes. So, over the next 40, there are going to be more challenges. And the good news is we are building our foundation now to be able to handle them with God on our side.
Yeah.
And hopefully it brings us closer.
Yeah.
Right? And there are going to be times, like I said earlier, where we're like, what the hell? What the heck?
No, it's good. Ish. Just ish it.
And why is this happening? Yeah. Right? Like I thought because I was a beautiful follower of God.
That this week. Yes, I was still crying on my bathroom floor. Like it happens,
It happens. It's life.
Yeah.
And I don't think God wants us to live a life where we don't have the ups and the downs because I think it reinforces our relationship with him. It reinforces the human to human connections that we need in our life. And I don't think God designed us to live as isolated individuals, but in community. And I mean, what's the saying? Like, where two or more of me gather is church or something like that. So like we're designed to live in a world and a life that needs support from others.
That is so true.
And we can't have that if we don't have challenges.
And I think that that's like actually like very applicable to what I was saying about how when I was going through all these, I was not only, even though I was out there and I was seemingly living a great life, which again, at the time, there were times where things were good. I think that I was still, I was tackling my tarot cards, my horoscopes alone. When I started going back to God, I was alone. And it really wasn't until I felt the peer pressure to go to church and was so desperate. I signed up for a small group and I met with one of our pastors, which by the way, again, we didn't get into like all the details of my absolute rock bottom moment, but
no, there's time for that.
Yeah, next episode. Stay tuned. But when we saw Hannah at the Women's Night of Worship, and she was like, "God, when you came to my office, I was like, girl, I don't know what to do.
I don't know. Like, even professional religious people are like, I don't know.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Yeah,
really fun.
We'll unpack that.
Yeah, we'll definitely unpack that. But I think that like that, but getting with people like really made a huge difference in that. Even before, I think it's like cracking open the book, devotional Bible, whatever it is, saying a prayer, it's easy. One, you have to, I think, like we said, have that good intention of this isn't actually about me, it's about finding a relationship with God.
No, I think it's we have different religious journeys, but I think like the common thread is that, you know, if you can live a life that's got some spiritual or religious foundation, however that looks like, you're going to have the really messy times and you're going to have the really wonderful times.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that'll stay consistent. And I think that's what, stays with you as the tide ebbs and flows, right? And I think it's a core of who we are as humans, or we're made to. And like, I don't want to say like, oh, you have to believe in what we believe in for this to be relevant, because it's really not, right? Like, I mean, I think if you were to strip away the term Methodist, or you strip away Catholicism or Episcopalian or whatever label you want to give it, like I said earlier, I think like the core values are just like, be a good person, right? Which it can be defined in many different ways. And I want our listeners to know, like, we're going to talk about that stuff too, right? It's not just about how religion looks to us. And we're going to have people who we bring on to chat about how religion looks to them. And they're everything from professional religion people to people who question and doubt and try to disprove religion, because it runs the gambit. Right? Like and it's
important to have the discourse.
Yes, I mean, absolutely.
That's the other beautiful thing about community, like you were saying, is you find more confidence in that no one's doing it perfectly.
No.
Hearing other people's stories, hearing things that they're going through, hearing things that went well for them, that they're celebrating, you can find yourself in all of that. If you are alone in your room reading something, you kind of put a wall up, right? Like between you and where you're trying to go. And I think like you're so spot on too, that no one's looks the same. And I really like looking back in the Bible and knowing that that's been the truth all along too, right? Like Jacob was like conditional faith, right? He's like, okay, yeah, that was a cool ladder dream, God, but you can be my God if you do this for me, right? Until he wrestles with God. He's not Jacob, who is obviously Israel, father of the 12 tribes in the house of Judah, that ends up leading to Jesus. And they're like, oh, you took that guy that was like basically threatening God, and that is who he's using to like carry on his blessing and his line and his inheritance down to the gift of Jesus. I think there's something really beautiful in that. Or like we said, like David was just like always in the middle, just singing God's praises, whether he was messing up or not messing up, and he did this frequently, I guess. Or Abraham, who I like, the Old Testament, I don't know why I find them so interesting. But all of their stories are all over the place. The way they talk to God, the way they deal with God. Like Abraham, it says that his faith was unwavering, and so it was counted to him as righteousness. But here he goes, like getting Hagar pregnant because like God's thing isn't happening fast enough, and Sarah's like, let's go. But his faith was unwavering. So God, and he was like God's like G, like they were homies.
Yes,
and he's still a human, and God recognized that and loved him through it and gave him the blessing, right? And then Jacob was the same. Joseph seemed like he was pretty constant and faithful, and he still got thrown in the pit. His brothers tried to sell it. Like, you just can see so many different ways that people historically have struggled, and these stories that are shared are helpful, but there's I think a really nice balance of then getting in person with community today and realizing we're still all doing it differently,
right?
And God still shows up.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like we're all doing it differently. Some of us think we're doing it perfectly. Most of us are doing it very imperfectly, including myself. I'm not going to speak for you, Sarah, but
it's okay, you can.
We are doing it imperfectly,
very imperfectly.
But he's still there. He still shows up in my life.
Never going to leave.
Right.
It's the coolest thing ever, actually.
And I can't say that about any other relationship in my life, right? Like, I like to think I'm a good person, but if I did something horrible to somebody, I'm assuming that they will be done with me, right? And God is just always there. It's nice to know. Through the good and the bad, the easy times and the hard times, he's there. And that's cool.
And I think the easy times are, I haven't had one in a while. Can't wait to get there. Next 40 years.
You'll get there.
But I do think that those are the times too where it's like important to lean in and still deepen your faith. Not to be like, cool, I'm good, I'm going to coast.
Oh yeah, no.
But that is the time to like almost like supercharge it, like power up your battery. So when you're running low, you have
reserves,
an even better foundation to draw from, you know?
One, two,
and he
I
deserves that glory, and he wants to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Like, he wants to see that's what he's doing. He's experiencing life and himself through us. And I think if we're ignoring the good times and acknowledging them and celebrating them, like if we're like that's not something we either want to enjoy or bring God into, like that's kind of shortchanging him, right?
Totally. And I think that's going to be another sort of, I think, foundation of this podcast, is that we're going to talk about like, how do you do life as a spiritual person or a religious person or a holy person? Is like, how do you do this faith thing? And we want to talk about what we would consider the right ways or the wrong ways to do faith. And I don't think there is a wrong way that we would identify, but because everyone does it so differently. But just like what we've tried on, what has worked for us, what hasn't worked for us as far as being faithful members of society. It's going to be fun. We're going to explore the Bible all the way through, right? Like we're not focusing on Old Testament or New Testament solely. We're going to draw from it throughout, cover to cover. Those might be like little sub lessons. And then we also want to engage any of our listeners who want to say like, oh, hey, I would love to, do a Bible study on this specific thing. Like we're going to want to engage you guys and hear from you all about what you would want to hear more or less of as this whole thing plays out. This is my first time, I believe your first time hosting a podcast. So there's a learning curve for us. And also like, it's really important to us that we are respectful of all of our listeners. We are not here to judge. We're not here to tell you that you're doing something wrong. When it comes to this, we are also very human, living and learning and doing it wrong ourselves. Every day. So we're not here to judge. We're just here to be helpful. Because I think that's what it's all about ultimately. Is loving our neighbors. Just like Jesus said.
And making it not scary to get to a place where faith can be in your daily life. Like it seems so intimidating sometimes. And I'm personally really excited to be talking about all this because I wish I'd had something like this, during different periods in my life where I felt like I had questions. I was close, right? But I either kept myself separated or didn't know where to go, or I would engage and it felt like, again, everyone else was the expert and they're telling me. And there's a time to hear that, right? Like I'm glad that our pastors are more experts than I am and like they can teach me things. But then there's also a point where it's like, I don't know how to interact with holier than thou, not holy-ish. So I'm excited to just be like open and have a conversation that hopefully people want to join. And God is awesome. And we should talk about him. Like,
yes, absolutely. Why not? Right?
Actually, like, this is so funny. And it's so, I think, like conditional. And I have spent this whole time thinking about how we are going to do this. And it's like, why are we doing this? Because we actually do love God. No matter how we got here. And he deserves the airtime, and everybody deserves to feel like they can participate in his love and experience.
No matter where you're at in if you believe in this at all, if you question every day, if you're like, okay, I just want to hear these two girls be weird about God. I
want to hear all Sarah's stories.
What happened? The suspense. No. So whatever has you listening, just know that like this is a spot for you. Like I said, we're not here to judge. We're not here to tell you how to live your life. We're just giving you our perspective as people who love God, who try to do the right thing, who try to love others. And we're excited to like explore all of this, dig a little deeper into the Bible together. But just know that we screw up all the time, and we had to add the ish for a very good reason, right? Like it is messy. We are both.
It could actually just be the ish podcast. I mean, honestly.
But we have children in our lives, so we'll talk about parenting through the lens of religion. We have exes. We have husbands. We have new boyfriends at some point in the future. So
next
you're gonna
40 years,
right?
Maybe.
There we go. So we're hoping to bring you guys along on that journey with us. And any parting words before we sign off?
I don't think so. I'm just really grateful that we met and that this is something that God put in our path, and I hope it helps a lot of other people as well.
Yep, that's the goal, right? Is to, if this brings anyone a little bit closer to their faith in any way, shape, or form, then I feel like we've done something good with it.
Just making you think. Like I'll take it.
Exactly.
Flex you never know when that's gonna be something you draw on when you need it.
Exactly. And we can speak to that, both of us. That life just is life, and there are times where you have to get down on your knees. And whether it's praying or asking for forgiveness.
Made a really naughty joke.
Yes.
Okay, we better wrap it up.
Anyway, Sarah's evolving. Yes, we hope you guys will tune in and listen, and thank you for your time.
Peace.
Cut.
Yay!
All right.
Wait, that was like really fun.
I know. Oh, my legs.
I know.
Cut. All right.
Wait, that was like really fun.
I know. Oh, my legs.
I know.